Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and UK PM Keir Starmer hold talks in Mumbai. UK signs $468 million deal to supply missiles to India. Prime Minister Modi says India's digital ecosystem is setting global standards for innovation and inclusion. Highlights Fintech startups saw 500% growth in the last 10 years. Hungarian writer László Krasznahorkai wins 2025 Nobel Prize in Literature. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held wide-ranging talks with visiting UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Mumbai. The leaders held discussions on technology, defence, artificial intelligence, sustainable development, renewable energy and education. PM Modi said that relationship between India and the UK is built on the shared values of democracy, freedom and the rule of law and stands as an important pillar of global stability. More in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Thursday expressed satisfaction at the upward trajectory of the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and reaffirmed their common commitment to global peace, stability and a rules-based international order. The leaders held restricted as well as delegation-level talks in Mumbai.
भारत और यूके नेचुरल पार्टनर्स हैं। हमारे संबंधों की नींव में डेमोक्रेसी, फ्रीडम और रूल ऑफ लॉ जैसे मूल्यों में साझा विश्वास है। मौजूदा वैश्विक अस्थिरता के दौर में भारत और यूके के बीच ये बढ़ती हुई साझेदारी ग्लोबल स्टेबिलिटी और आर्थिक प्रगति का एक महत्वपूर्ण आधार बनी रही है।
Building on the landmark Technology Security Initiative (TSI), both leaders welcomed the tangible progress made across critical and emerging technologies, including telecommunications, critical minerals, AI, and health tech.
भारत और यूके के बीच टेक्नोलॉजी पार्टनरशिप में अपार संभावनाएं हैं। हम यूके की इंडस्ट्रियल एक्सपर्टाइज, R&D को भारत के टैलेंट और स्केल के साथ जोड़ने पर काम कर रहे हैं। पिछले वर्ष हमने इंडिया यूके टेक्नोलॉजी सिक्योरिटी इनिशिएटिव लॉन्च किया।
Under the Technology Security Initiative, the leaders expressed happiness at the establishment of India-UK Connectivity and Innovation Centre, a joint hub focused on developing AI-native network for 6G, non-terrestrial networks, NTNs, and cybersecurity for telecom, with at least £24 million of joint funding in the first phase of the project. The India-UK Joint Centre for AI, advancing responsible and trustworthy AI across health, climate, fintech, and engineering biology. Both sides committed to robust maritime security collaboration in the Indo-Pacific, including establishment of the Regional Maritime Security Centre of Excellence, RMSCE, under the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IPOI. Both leaders also announced the agreement to proceed by a government-to-government route on an initial supply of lightweight multi-role missile LMM systems. They condemned in the strongest terms the April 2025 terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. The Prime Ministers welcomed the India-UK Climate Finance Initiative to enable scaling up of climate finance, unlocking green growth, and new financing opportunities for both countries. Both sides expressed happiness on the progress in opening of campuses of 9 leading UK universities in India. The University of Southampton has welcomed its inaugural cohort of Indian students to its campus in Gurugram. The University Grants Commission also handed over letters of intent for the establishment of branch universities of University of Liverpool, University of York, University of Aberdeen, and University of Bristol in India. Further, Queen's University of Belfast and Coventry University have been authorized to open their branch campuses in Gift City. Regional and multilateral cooperation. UK reiterated its long-standing support for India's legitimate aspirations for permanent membership in a reformed UNSC. The two prime ministers expressed support for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine in accordance with international law, including the UN Charter. They expressed their support for the US peace plan for Gaza. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer congratulated Prime Minister Modi on his leadership, aiming to be the world's third largest economy by 2028.
India's growth story is remarkable. I want to congratulate the Prime Minister on his leadership, aiming to be the world's third largest economy by 2028. And your vision of Viksit Bharat is to completely developed country by 2047. And everything I've seen since I've been here is absolute proof to me that you're on track to succeed in that.
This is Prime Minister Starmer's first official visit to India. The visit follows the visit of Prime Minister of India to the United Kingdom on 23rd and 24th July 2025, during which both sides signed the historic India-UK Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, and adopted the India-UK Vision 2035 and a Defence Industrial Roadmap. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
And the Global Fintech Festival 2025 got underway in Mumbai with PM Modi and British PM Keir Starmer. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Modi said, India's digital ecosystem is setting global standards for innovation and inclusion. He said India is not only sharing technology with other countries, but also helping them develop it. He termed it as digital empowerment, not digital aid.
हम दूसरे देशों को टेक्नोलॉजी शेयर करने के साथ ही टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप करने में भी मदद दे रहे हैं और ये डिजिटल एड नहीं है, वरना दुनिया में कई लोगों को शौक है, हम एड दे रहे हैं। समझदार को इशारा काफी है। ये एड नहीं है, बल्कि डिजिटल एम्पावरमेंट है।
Pointing out that UPI alone facilitates 20 billion transactions every month, with a transaction value exceeding 25 lakh crore rupees. PM Modi stressed, out of every 100 real-time digital transactions globally, 50 occur in India alone.
आज हर महीने 20 बिलियन ट्रांजैक्शंस हो रहे हैं। इनकी वैल्यू 25 ट्रिलियन रुपीस यानी 25 लाख करोड़ रुपए से अधिक है। आज दुनिया के हर 100 रियल टाइम डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन में से 50 अकेले भारत में होते हैं।
And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, addressing the Fintech Festival, used the phrase incredible combination to describe UK-India Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, that's CETA, highlighting the blend of India's rapid economic growth and Britain's strengths in technology and innovation.
We are so committed to this because we see India's potential. This country holds the promise of the future in its hands. As the world's biggest democracy, one of the world's largest and fastest growing economies, with half of your population under 25 years old, the vibrancy and promise of this nation are clear, especially here in Mumbai. And when this all comes together with the UK's talent and creativity, with our institutions and entrepreneurs, it is an incredible combination.
And following a meeting of the India-UK CEO Forum, CEOs from both countries praised the recently signed Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, CETA, pledged to double bilateral trade between the two nations by 2030.
The signing of the CETA, the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, really is a milestone and a very important pillar for the engagement between the two business sides. The digital trade chapter allows frictionless, paperless trade between the two countries, and I'm sure that will help our MSMEs in a great degree. The TSI, the Technology Security Initiative, to my mind, holds great promise in today's world.
India's reforms through deregulation, decriminalization, and sectoral target setting have created a conducive environment for investment and operational certainty. Both sides emphasize that the FTA's success depends on active business participation, transforming policy into action. Examples of collaboration include technology transfer, digital systems, energy transition projects, and industrial innovation.
India is now becoming a major financial center of global scale. The volumes in the Indian market are now probably close to the second largest in the world. Along with that, the technology change which has happened in India under the leadership of the Prime Minister and the whole digital Aadhaar UPI revolution has transformed India from the India we saw even 10 years ago.
Absolutely incredible vision both of the gentlemen have, and in terms of the vision for both countries to work together to create an innovation center that could actually be first and the best in the world is path-breaking. And I think we have all the ingredients to come together with the CEO forum of businesses from both sides coming together to look at interests that can work together. And I think biofutures and artificial intelligence are areas of the future that clearly we can make a big difference in the country.
First of all, I want to congratulate both Prime Ministers on signing what is a fantastic trade agreement, specifically from the banking sector standpoint. Seeing the opening up of the banking sector access in India is something that we really appreciate. So from my company, Revolut, we just did a product reveal at GFF, which has been a very good conference for us. And we also announced our commitment to invest £500 million over the next 5 years in India.
And still to come on DD India NewsHour. Russia attacks Ukraine's Odessa region. US lawmakers urge Trump to reset ties with India. EU to investigate alleged spying on European institutions by Hungary.
So now you can't talk about British imperialism in India without talking about the East India Company.
Britain is just dotted with the visible representations of loot from India. The one thing you folks have never done is just say sorry.
Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. After months of intense fighting and failed negotiations, a major breakthrough is reported in the Gaza conflict. Israel and Hamas have signed a ceasefire agreement, a deal that could mark the first real step towards lasting peace in the region. Here's more.
Celebrations erupted on both sides as Israel and Hamas reached a landmark agreement to end hostilities in Gaza. The deal calls for a ceasefire, which is a partial Israeli military withdrawal, and the release of hostages by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. The agreement follows indirect talks in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh and forms part of US President Donald Trump's initiative to end the conflict.
I'm very excited about this, and all of us in the camp are waiting for the response. It is supposed to happen today, God willing. We are racing against time so the agreement can be signed, and we are eagerly waiting for 4 p.m. to hear them say, "You can return to your homes."
There are no words to describe the feeling today. It's undescribable, like spontaneous joy, excitement, tears. We all came here from the office because we are just unable to work. It's a day that the entire nation has been waiting for 2 years. Every second, every day has just come to this moment.
The ceasefire, which will take effect once ratified by the Israeli government after a security cabinet meeting. High-profile prisoner Marwan Barghouti will, however, not be included in the exchange.
Now, the final draft of Phase 1 was signed this morning in Egypt by all parties to release all of the hostages. And the IDF will then redeploy to that yellow line we mentioned, which will lead to the military controlling and holding about 53% of the Gaza Strip. Now, Phase 1 stands very clear. All of our hostages, the living and deceased, will be released 72 hours later, which will bring us to Monday. Has Israel agreed or refused to release Palestinian prisoner Marwan Barghouti? I can tell you at this point in time that he will not be part of this release.
Following the signing, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held an emotional phone call with President Trump, who is expected to visit Jerusalem on Sunday. Netanyahu expressed gratitude for Trump's global leadership in facilitating the deal.
In a phone call earlier this morning, Prime Minister Netanyahu thanked President Trump for his global leadership efforts to make this all possible. It was a very emotional and a warm conversation as both leaders congratulated each other on this historic achievement.
World leaders also welcomed the agreement, hailing it as a crucial step toward peace and the safe release of hostages in Gaza.
I welcome the announcement last night of an agreement to secure a ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza, based on the proposal put forward by President Donald J. Trump. And I commend the diplomatic efforts of the United States, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey in brokering the desperately needed breakthrough. We have all waited far too long for this moment. Now we must make it truly count. I urge all parties to fully abide by the terms of the agreement and to fully embrace the opportunities it presents.
The world is watching closely as the ceasefire moves towards implementation. If it holds, it could bring long-awaited relief to millions affected by the conflict and possibly set the stage for broader peace talks in West Asia. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with US President Donald Trump, congratulated him on the success of the historic Gaza peace plan. Prime Minister Modi writes on X, and I quote, "Spoke to my friend President Trump and congratulated him on the success of the historic Gaza peace plan. Also reviewed the good progress achieved in trade negotiations, agreed to stay in close touch over the coming weeks," unquote. In other news, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met with Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong on Thursday during his official two-day visit to Australia. In the delegation-level talks, the leaders discussed ways to strengthen growing India-Australia comprehensive strategic partnership and deepen cooperation across key sectors, including trade, tech, connectivity and regional security. Penny Wong called India-Australia joint custodians of the Indian Ocean. Minister Rajnath Singh also paid tributes at the Australian War Memorial and laid a wreath. And earlier, Minister Rajnath Singh met with Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, hailed the fillip towards bilateral relationship. During the meeting, the Australian PM underscored how India-Australia defence partnership is built on trust, shared interests and a commitment to a peaceful, secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific. A special Welcome to Country smoke ceremony was also held at Australian Parliament to honour and welcome Minister Rajnath Singh. The ceremony was part of a reconciliation process. It acknowledges the traditional ownership of the land and involves Aboriginal Australians in events that take place on their traditional land. Moving on, an overnight Russian drone attack injured 5 people, damaged port and energy infrastructure in Ukraine's southern region of Odessa on Thursday. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine released a video showing firefighters tackling blazes in burning shipping containers. The attack cut power to some 30,000 consumers, set containers with vegetable oil and wood pellets on fire in the port. And Russia's President Vladimir Putin has told his Azerbaijani counterpart that Moscow will compensate Azerbaijan for its part in accidentally downing an Azerbaijani passenger plane in 2024. The Russian leader made the commitment on Thursday while meeting with Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev in Dushanbe, Tajikistan, 10 months after the Azerbaijani Airlines crash that killed 38 of the 67 people on board. Putin last year issued a rare public apology to Aliyev for what the Kremlin called a tragic incident over Russia, in which the plane crashed after Russian air defenses were deployed against Ukrainian drones.
That time, during our first telephone conversation, I not only apologized for the fact that the tragedy occurred in Russian airspace, but also expressed my sincere condolences to the families of the victims. I would like to reiterate all of this and emphasize that, as we agreed, we are of course providing every possible assistance to the investigation. The investigation is nearing its conclusion, and we can now begin to discuss the causes of this tragedy, this catastrophe in general terms.
US Congresswoman Deborah Ross and Congressman Ro Khanna led a group of 19 members of Congress in urging President Donald Trump to take immediate steps to repair America's strained relationship with India and to reverse his administration's harmful tariff policies. In the letter, the lawmakers warn President Trump's recent tariff hikes, which raised duties on Indian goods to as high as 50%, have undermined relations with India and hurt both American consumers and manufacturers. The letter further stated that recent actions by US administration have strained relations with the world's largest democracy, creating negative consequences for both the countries. The lawmakers urge President Trump to take immediate steps to reset and repair this critical partnership. Hungarian writer László Krasznahorkai has won the 2025 Nobel Prize in Literature, honored for what the Swedish Academy called his compelling and visionary work that reaffirms the power of art amid apocalyptic terror. The Academy praised him as a great epic writer in Central European tradition, drawing comparisons to Kafka and Thomas Bernhard for his style and absurdism and grotesque depth. Born in a small Hungarian town of Győr, Krasznahorkai is the second Hungarian to win the Nobel after M. Kertész in 2002. His acclaimed 1985 novel, Santango, first brought him global recognition. As news of the award spread, residents of the town where he lived celebrated his win, describing the author as humble, thoughtful, and deeply connected to his community.
I'm very happy, very happy. We are really looking forward to it, and he deserves it much. We are very proud of him here in this village. I really like his books.
In other news, India unveiled its National Red List Roadmap and Vision 2025-2030 at the IUCN World Conservation Congress 2025, marking a significant milestone in establishing a comprehensive framework for species assessment and conservation. The initiative, launched by India's Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Keir Singh, at Asia Pavilion, reinforces India's commitment to biodiversity, documentation, threat assessment, evidence-based conservation planning. Speaking at the launch, Minister Keir Singh said the roadmap would guide India's conservation strategy through 2030, and the future conservation policies will be based on the insights and data generated through this process.
Our government is collaborating with IUCN. Our various departments are working closely with IUCN to prepare this red list, and our objective is to have this red list prepared by 2030. Today was the launch of the roadmap of how to go about preparing this red list. And our future conservation efforts, our policies regarding wildlife conservation will then be based on the suggestions and the statistics and the facts as made in the red list. So which are the most endangered species, what efforts are required, what focused efforts are required to conserve them, to protect them. That will be our future endeavor, and this red list will be the cornerstone for our future environment and ecological conservation programs.
The IUCN World Conservation Congress 2025 began in Abu Dhabi on Thursday with over 1,400 organizations from across 160 plus countries, themed Powering Transformative Conservation. The event focuses on urgent action for biodiversity and climate. Among the key issues gaining momentum at this year's Congress are two motions. Motion 087, which advocates a science-based policy on synthetic biology, balancing innovation like species restoration with biosafety concerns. Meanwhile, Motion 108 seeks to regulate commercial pet trade in wildlife to curb over-harvesting and illegal trafficking. Susan Lieberman, Vice President of International Policy at Wildlife Conservation Society, shared important insights with DD India correspondent Vinod Kumar.
This is the first day of IUCN World Congress 2025 at Abu Dhabi. With me, we have Susan Lieberman from the Wildlife Conservation Society, United States. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
In the IUCN Congress, there are two important motions. One is on pet trade and one is on synthetic biology. Can you tell to our audience how important these two motions are and how they are relevant to the world?
Yes, I'd be happy to. There are actually more than 130 motions being decided here, but two of those are they're all important. The one motion on the pet trade that the Wildlife Conservation Society has led on with a number of supporting co-sponsors is to ask IUCN to convene a process to look at developing guidelines on how to change how we manage the wildlife pet trade globally.
Synthetic biology.
Yeah.
This term itself may not be very familiar to our audience. What is synthetic biology? How important it is?
I'll give you the short explanation. It's the use of DNA in modern science to clone or reproduce or use gene drives based on wild species. And basically, it's the use of modern scientific DNA technology to benefit agriculture, also reproduce better plants, to benefit human health.
Let's hope that the rational, sound policies will be passed in this motion of IUCN Congress in Abu Dhabi. Thank you. Vinod Kumar from DD India, Abu Dhabi.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. UK-based ocean tech company Deep plans to deploy its first 3D printed underwater human habitat, Vanguard, by the end of 2025 in Florida to enable continuous underwater presence. Designed for 4 scientists to stay underwater for about a week, it precedes the larger 2027 Sentinel project. This $100 million US expansion aims to revolutionize ocean exploration and promote marine conservation. Inside Ferrari's Maranello factory in Italy, the luxury automaker is blending tradition with technology as it prepares for an electric future. The company plans to produce key EV components like motors and axles in-house. The brand aims to preserve its signature performance and design while shifting from engines to electric power. Royal Mail has released 10 Monopoly-themed stamps to celebrate the board game's 90th anniversary. A limited edition post-box shaped Monopoly token has been launched with only 5,000 made. Monopoly, first marketed in 1935, now exists in over 40 language editions worldwide. And still to come on DD India NewsHour. We talk about the diverse domains of India-UK ties. Second and final test between India and West Indies set to begin on Friday. And star India batter Smriti Mandhana has set a new world ODI record.
geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer hold talks in Mumbai. UK signs $460 million deal to supply missiles to India. Prime Minister Modi says India's digital ecosystem is setting global standards for innovation and inclusion. Highlights Fintech startups saw 500% growth in last 10 years. Israel and Hamas agree to first phase of Gaza ceasefire plan. President Trump likely to visit Jerusalem this week. Prime Minister Modi speaks with President Trump, congratulates him on the success of historic Gaza peace plan. And Hungarian writer László Krasznahorkai wins 2025 Nobel Prize in Literature. And we now return to our top story of India-UK ties. Two special guests are joining me to take the conversation forward. Let me welcome Ambassador Mohan Kumar, former senior diplomat and Director General of Motwani Jadeja Institute for American Studies at the Jindal Global University, and Dr. Gautam Sen, leading economist from London School of Economics. Good evening and welcome, gentlemen. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, if I can come to you first. It's turning out to be a particularly important year for India-UK ties. First, the historic trade agreement, and now Prime Minister Starmer's first visit to India. What were your key takeaways from the multiple high-level engagements that we witnessed throughout the day?
Thank you very much for having me. I thought there was geopolitical congruence and strategic convergence, first of all. UK is, I think, after Brexit, trying to take advantage of the enormous flexibility now it has got in terms of fostering relationships that it could otherwise have had to rely on Brussels and so on. So I think there is a great willingness on the part of UK to try and have as many partnerships as possible. And from India's point of view, it's also a question of hedging. We are trying to get as many partnerships as possible other than with the United States, China, etc. So I see a lot of strategic congruence, if you like. But in terms of the important takeaways, I would say trade investment is one basket. The second for me is technology and the technology security initiative. The third is education, which I think is important, people-to-people ties. And then two other sub-issues, if you like. One is really the climate issue, on which there was talk of climate finance and resilience and so on. And finally, defense and security. And what caught my attention was India-UK cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. Right. And that is important as well. So those are the main takeaways, and I'm happy to expand on it later when you ask me the questions.
Right, sir. We'll just come to that. Dr. Gautam Sen, how do you see the momentum that was generated with the historic India-UK Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, CETA? How's that momentum taken forward with this engagement of the leaders?
This is a very significant step for the two countries. For India, this has been catalyzed somewhat by the trade issues with the United States, because some of our sectors are very severely affected, particularly textiles, because we only have a 6% share of the UK market. So there is much scope for growth. And my understanding is that they hope to double it in the next 2 years. So it will offer some speedy needed relief to India's textile sector, because we will now be as competitive as those countries which have tariff privileges as least developed, like Bangladesh. That's one. So there is a congruence. For the United Kingdom, the cost of leaving the European Union and Brexit has been catastrophic, £100 billion. And the trade share of the EU for the UK was 42%. You cannot walk away from that without some cost. And India is their most significant deal, and they have been trying for a very long time. My understanding was that India was hesitant for a very long time, and in fact, I've spoken to senior advisors to the government who had strong reservations, including a former ambassador to the WTO, who worried quite rightly about the impact it might have on nascent Indian technology firms which require a degree of protection. Bear in mind, the United Kingdom is, despite its multiple economic troubles, a major player in the technology field. It is the third largest in AI with a market worth $97 billion. They have 3,700 AI firms, and they are number 3 after the United States and China. They also have the maximum number of startups among most countries, and of course they have much in education. I would sound a note of caution. There are some political issues because the United Kingdom has turned out to be the most vehement enemy of the Russian Federation, determined to pursue the war to the bitter end, and Russia remains an important ally, and this may be an issue. One should also bear in mind there is a very strong Pakistani lobby, and there are circumstances in which tens of thousands of demonstrators may protest trade with India, particularly in the defense sector. Yet, we have much to gain if we play that game with some care and forethought, and we are in a very strong position to insist on those things which suit us. In the economic terms, the long-run beneficiary will be the UK because the smaller economy experiences the larger adjustment, and we are bigger than them in absolute terms, though much less in per capita. So the UK will benefit, and a huge relief for them, considering the troubles they're having with their fiscal, etc. So I think, yes, this is a good thing. We need to play it very carefully, particularly the defense sector. There are things we can gain, and we have to be a bit hard-headed. I'm not worried about the impact on things like whiskey and vehicles, because our vehicle sector is very strong. The lower end and medium sector, I think we will outcompete them. And if we buy more Jaguars, the dividends are coming to India anyway. As for whiskey, I think Indian whiskey is getting better and better. And we have the climate conditions to make some of the best whiskey. And I don't think many people will be willing to spend money on high-end Scottish whiskey.
We'll talk about these specific areas, Dr. Sen. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, in the context of the complications that Dr. Gautam Sen underlined, and also the great global uncertainties that we are witnessing, how do you see, what kind of convergence in priorities do you see between India and the UK, particularly as far as the regional and multilateral cooperation by the two countries are concerned?
Well, I just happened to glance at the regional and the multilateral chapter of the joint statement.
Yes.
And I thought there was quite a bit of convergence in terms of both UK and India want a little bit of predictability and stability in the international order, given the volatility that has been unleashed by some powers. And so the international order is not exactly stable. And UK and India believe that by having a strong strategic partnership, they can bring a certain element of stability and predictability to the international order. UK has always supported India's candidature for the UN Security Council. But what interested me most was, I think, UK and India agreeing that they have a role in the Indo-Pacific where they can fulfill some of the shared responsibility. And this is important for India because the Indo-Pacific tends to be heavily concentrated on the Pacific when it comes to the United States and other powers. Our problem has been really that we have to take care of the Indian Ocean. And I think there UK and France could be of great help. And I think the fact that the United Kingdom has come forward to assist us in that area is, I believe, significant. But I do believe that there is quite a bit of convergence on what is happening in Gaza. Both UK and India appear to have strongly welcomed the United States peace plan, which appears to have taken off. And in terms of Ukraine, I find it important that both countries agree that there is need for durable peace based on the UN Charter and on international law. So I thought that was significant as well. So there is quite a bit of convergence on the whole between the two countries. I don't see a very serious discordant note between the two countries in this area.
Okay, and what you said about the Indo-Pacific, do you also see the expansion of the bilateral security exchanges between India and the UK from the issue of counter-terror to joint production of advanced weapons? We see a greater convergence in the countries working together in this domain of security.
Is that to
Absolutely.
me?
This one is for Ambassador Kumar. I'll just come to you, Dr. Sen.
So absolutely, just to second whatever you are saying, I think in the area of defense and security, United Kingdom and India have a long partnership, and that can only be strengthened. I think joint exercises are on the cards. There is a lot of information and possibilities of cooperation in the area of maritime security. And again, in the context of Indian Ocean, that becomes significant.
Right. Dr. Gautam Sen, what you mentioned about the areas that are going to benefit, we also know a large business delegation accompanied Prime Minister Keir Starmer to Mumbai. Also, Prime Minister mentioned the manner in which the historic trade agreement between the two countries is going to benefit significantly the smaller businesses, the MSMEs. How do you see the benefits of the agreement percolating down to the smaller businesses and entrepreneurs?
I think for the MSMEs, it depends on whether or not they're in the traded goods sector. And British MSMEs are mainly in the service sector, so there's not much in it for them. But I think in technology areas, if India negotiates in a hard-headed way, there is much to gain. And most important of all is the politics. The geopolitics has changed. The United Kingdom has a much weaker hand, and India is now negotiating with a hard-headed attitude. So yes, we can gain, but you know, Britain is not a major player in terms of armed forces. They have only 80,000 troops altogether. Their navy is relatively small, but nevertheless, there is scope for cooperation. But you know, a country like Japan is much more important, and our key ally for the long term will remain Russia. And we must bear in mind, Russia and the United Kingdom and the United States are the most bitter opponents of Russia, and they are pushing for regime change. So we have to be cautious because of the wider implications of our association with the UK. But they have a strong hand, and we can dictate.
And Dr. Sen, also when Prime Minister asks the business leaders if they can identify areas where India-UK partnership can in fact lead the world, set global standards, what would be those areas where the two countries in particular could work and excel in a better way?
You know, I think from an Indian perspective, if I may be a bit partisan, we should be very well organized in terms of gaining STEM education from British universities. Oxford, Imperial, and many others have much to offer, and there is an advantage for them because R&D is very costly, and if you have a larger market on which to defray your findings and research, India's market size will reduce average costs for both parties. So here we really need to change India's regulatory structure, and I believe 9 universities are coming. I am not so happy if it's social science, because the social science in the UK is systematically hostile to India and Hindus. But I think in STEM we have much to gain. In defense and security as well, we need to import technology, but on a basis of total transfer technology so that we do not lose autonomy. And I believe the Prime Minister in Delhi is very keen on Atmanirbhar. So that will happen. I am quite optimistic about where it will lead, but I think we should be guarded because the UK has not been our friend all the time. And our Foreign Minister almost suffered a personal injury in London recently, which I witnessed to my horror. So we need to be wary. There are many forces in the UK which are deeply hostile to India, including the Khalistanis who have had free reign, and of course, the tens of thousands who are demonstrating for Islam. We need to be aware of this, and I've been here for a very, very long time, and I've been observing this for over half a century.
Okay, Ambassador Mohan Kumar, your final comments on the aspect of people-to-people connect with reference to what was said about the education sector. 9 UK universities are set to open campuses in India. The manner in which you see this particular domain of knowledge economy of universities opening up in India and other areas where the people from the two sides could engage, work, live better.
I think the joint statement describes the Indian expatriate community in the UK as a living bridge. And I think that's absolutely correct. But in terms of universities, the current climate being what it is, and our students are finding it difficult to get visas to go to the United States, UK could be an alternative, at least in the short to medium term. So there's a lot of renewed interest on the part of Indian students, both STEM, non-STEM, to go to the UK. And I think the idea of UK universities opening campuses in either Gujarat or Bangalore or Delhi, I think that's just implementation of the national education policy. So the fact of the matter is the supply of quality universities in India does not meet the demand of students, and it is increasingly difficult for Indian students to go abroad for expensive education. So anything that we can do to bridge the gap between supply and demand for higher education in India is welcome. And I think traditionally there has been a lot of interest among the Indian students to go to the UK. The big four are US, UK, Australia, Canada. But I think the UK is getting back its mojo in terms of attracting the best students. I would also underline one other thing, and which is really that in the area of AI, telecom, cybersecurity, and quantum, I think there can be a lot of things that can happen between the two countries. I think there has been an idea that we need to set up a center for promoting AI innovation, and I would not underestimate the potential that both countries have in this respect.
On that note, Ambassador Mohan Kumar and Dr. Gautam Sen, thank you very much for joining us on the NewsHour and sharing your perspective. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has said that following his phone call with US President Trump, the White House has appointed Marco Rubio to continue talks with Brazil's Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira. Lula, in an interview with Brazilian radio station, expressed hope at the start of the talks with the United States. France's outgoing economy minister sought to reassure EU partners on Thursday by vowing Paris would respect its European commitments and agree on a 2026 budget despite the current political crisis. Lescure told reporters ahead of a meeting with Eurozone counterparts in Luxembourg that France would bring its public deficit below 3% in line with EU spending rules by 2029. At least 1,000 protesters took to the streets of Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo, on Thursday, prompting police to fire tear gas and rubber bullets in an effort to disperse the youth-led demonstration. The rally, part of a two-week wave of near-daily protests sparked by power and water shortages, has grown into a broader anti-government movement led by Gen Z activists. Protesters defied President Andry Rajoelina's recent attempts to calm tensions, including appointing a military officer as prime minister, rejecting his calls for dialogue. Demonstrations also occurred in other cities, including Toliara. Protesters accused the government of systemic failure with calls for reform rather than resignation. On the occasion of World Postal Day, Secretary of India Post, Vandita Kaul, said India Post is committed to serving every person in the country, from delivering trust in every corner of the nation. India Post continues to be a messenger of reliability and care.
It is a very special day today. It is World Post Day, यानी कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय डाक दिवस. This year's theme for World Post Day is Local Service, Global Reach. We are standing with the country and with the world, because we are not only taking goods in and out of the country, we are also helping in other activities of various countries, that is training, and India Post is standing tall in the international forum and in India, and we are working with all ministries, departments, state governments to deliver services to the common man.
Former President of India, Ramnath Kovind, inaugurated a unique tribal exhibition, Silent Conversations from Margins to the Centre, in New Delhi on Thursday. He took a tour of the exhibition and interacted with artists, some of whom live around various tiger reserves of India. The Idu Mishmi tribe of the Bang Valley in Arunachal Pradesh in northeastern part of India believe that tigers are their elder brothers. At a tribal art exhibition on tiger conservation in Delhi, DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo caught up with some of these artists. The exhibition was inaugurated by former President of India.
Silent conversation through paintings. Yes, we are talking about tigers and we have tribal artists from all over the country. Let's talk to some of them, starting off with Arunachal Pradesh. What did you paint?
The theme itself tells the story about this tiger. No? So that's why I painted this folk tale that is generally passed down in my tribe, Mishmi, Kamantawara Mishmi tribe.
We consider tiger as our elder brother in our community Mishmi, and as an art student I tried to depict in a contemporary way. So this is my painting, and this is a tiger cub and this is a human baby. So we in the earliest stories in our folk tales, we believe that the tiger and the human child share a same mother. So that's why my painting title is also A Nurture Beyond the Species.
So what did you paint?
Okay. My concept is very simple. As we all know, the identity of a tiger is the black stripe. So here I indicate the crow is a death, symbolic as death, which
is taking away all the stripes of the tiger.
Stripes.
How many artists from how many reserves are here, and what is the whole idea?
So there are more than 55 artists from 30 plus tiger reserves, 17 states. The idea is twofold. One, to give them a platform so that they can have an alternative livelihood, and second, to display these beautiful paintings and artworks not only in India but also make it international.
Well, absolutely a very beautiful concept, and why not, because tiger is our national animal and we need to protect the tiger because the tiger protects the forest. With cameraman Alok Gupta in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. Time now for sports. The second and final test between India and West Indies is set to begin on Friday at Delhi's Arun Jaitley Stadium. Led by Shubman Gill, India will be looking for a clean sweep after winning the first test by a huge margin in Ahmedabad. Meanwhile, West Indies still eye their first test win against India in over 2 decades. Here's a report by DD India correspondent Narayan Singh.
India will look to seal the 2-match test series against West Indies when teams meet in the second and the final test match at the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi from October 10 to 14. After a crushing win by an innings and 140 runs in Ahmedabad, Team India leads the series 1-0. The host will aim to complete a clean sweep and continue their dominant home record. India's big positives came from centuries by KL Rahul, Dhruv Jurel and Ravindra Jadeja in the first test. Bowlers led by Mohammad Siraj and Jadeja were outstanding as well. Team India may stick with the same combination that played in Ahmedabad given the balance and the form of the side. Captain Shubman Gill said the team is focused on grooming its pace bowlers and providing enough opportunities to promising players in the longest format.
How we can make the players feel more secure and what kind of combinations that we can play. We sort of want to look at 18 or a 15 member squad where we are picking constantly players from that bunch and from that squad. And one of the key things that we discuss is how we can build our fast bowlers. We have a pool of good fast bowlers and we want to be able to keep rotating them so that they get enough opportunities, come whenever we tour South Africa, Australia, New Zealand.
Meanwhile, the West Indies will look to regroup after a tough first test match. With injuries to Alzari Joseph and Shamar Joseph, their challenge gets tougher. But they will hope to show fight and resilience in this test match in Delhi. This pitch is expected to assist spinners as the game progresses, something that will please Indian spinners. The last test at this venue was in February 2023 when India defeated Australia inside 3 days on a turning track. Will India finish the series in style or will West Indies bounce back and level it? All eyes now on the action at the Arun Jaitley Stadium. This is Narayan Singh reporting for DD India, New Delhi.
Meanwhile, star India batter Smriti Mandhana has set a new world record for the most runs scored by women cricketer in ODIs in a single calendar year. The previous record of 970 runs set by Australia's Belinda Clark in 1997 stood for nearly 3 decades. Needing just 12 runs to surpass the mark, the 29-year-old achieved the milestone during India's ODI World Cup clash against South Africa in Visakhapatnam, etching a name in the history books. The left-hander has aggregated her runs in 17 matches at an average close to 60 and a strike rate of 113.76. She scored 4 centuries this year. That's all for this edition of DD India NewsHour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS. You can scan this QR code on your screen and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour. Namaskar.